Are we setting up our kids for economic failure? Hey everyone, welcome back to Econo Watch, where we dive into the economic trends and financial strategies that shape our lives. Today, we're tackling a pressing question. Are we setting up our kids for economic failure? It might seem obvious that we love our children, but the economic path we're leading them down suggests otherwise. Let's break this down. The declining economic prospects for future generations. Over the past few decades, we've witnessed significant economic and social changes that directly impact future generations, especially our kids. Not long ago, our parents earned more in real terms at our age compared to what we do now. Adjusted for inflation, our incomes aren't growing as fast as they used to. This trend is inadvertently setting up our children with fewer economic opportunities. Rising housing costs. Have you noticed how expensive houses have become lately? For many young people, buying a home has turned into an impossible dream. In just 3 years, the average mortgage payment in the U.S. has skyrocketed from $1,660 to $2,900. Since the 2008 financial crisis, the median home price has doubled from $210,000 to $420,000. Regulatory hurdles. Permits and regulations have made home construction more expensive. For instance, in Vancouver, 60% of construction costs go towards permits. This impacts housing accessibility and the prosperity of younger generations. The broken social contract. There used to be a social contract between generations. Parents worked hard to ensure a better future for their children, but now, a 30-year-old today isn't guaranteed the same standard of living their parents had at that age. This disparity breeds frustration and anger. Wealth distribution. The generational wealth gap has widened. Those over 70 used to control 19% of household income, while those under 40 controlled 12%. Today, the over 70s control 30% of the income, and the under 40s have dropped to 7%. This isn't by accident. Large corporations sometimes use their influence to create regulations or barriers that make it harder for young people to acquire property or assets, preserving the status quo for older generations. Stagnant wages. Minimum wages should reflect productivity, but they've stagnated. If minimum wage kept pace with productivity, it would be around $23 per hour. Instead, it's stuck at $7.25, affecting young people who rely on low-wage jobs. Higher education accessibility. Years ago, getting into UCLA was much easier. Out of every 100 applicants, 27 were accepted. Now only 9 out of 100 applicants get in. Higher education is supposed to take average students and give them the chance to become extraordinary, but it's becoming increasingly unaffordable and inaccessible. The cost of exclusivity. Universities have adopted strategies similar to luxury brands like Louis Vuitton, accepting fewer students to create a sense of exclusivity and justify skyrocketing tuition fees. This mirrors how older, wealthier individuals maintain high property values by opposing new housing developments. The Harvard example. Over the past 40 years, Harvard's endowment has grown significantly, but they've only increased freshman admissions by 4%. Any university with over $1 billion in its endowment that doesn't expand freshman admissions faster than population growth should lose tax benefits. These institutions are becoming more like investment funds that offer a few degrees on the side. Proposed solutions. To address these issues, President Biden could use some of the $750 billion Economic Rescue Fund to donate $1 billion to the top 500 public universities, under 3 conditions. 1. Reduce tuition costs. Use technology and scale to cut tuition by 2% annually. This could include online classes, learning management systems, and AI to make education more efficient and affordable. 2. Increase enrollment. Grow student numbers by 6% annually, doubling freshman slots in 10 years. 3. Expand vocational training. Boost vocational certifications and non-traditional degrees by 20%. Offering more diverse educational pathways. The capital versus labor divide. Over the past 40 years, capital has significantly outpaced labor. Corporate profits and investment returns have soared, while wages have barely moved. It's a great time to own assets, but a tough time to save enough to buy them. For students in a class of 300, it's easier to become a billionaire due to tech and market opportunities, but harder to become a simple millionaire due to stagnant wages and fewer traditional job opportunities. The role of higher education. Universities shouldn't just focus on making the wealthy wealthier. Their mission should be to give average students, particularly those from less privileged backgrounds, the tools to succeed. The top 10% doesn't need higher education as much. The goal should be to lift those who start with nothing. Wealth transfer and Social Security. There's been an intentional wealth transfer over the decades. with the rich getting richer partly due to government policies like tax cuts for the wealthy and corporations. Meanwhile, Social Security ensures that the elderly have enough to live on, reducing poverty among older adults significantly. Child poverty. Despite efforts, child poverty remains high. Expanding the child tax credit could help, but funding was cut from the infrastructure bill. Each year, $135 billion more is spent on Social Security, while expanding the child tax credit would cost $11 billion annually, a fraction of that amount. Government spending priorities. Every year, a massive $1.4 trillion is redistributed from younger, economically struggling groups to the wealthiest retirees. This isn't about opposing Social Security, but advocating for need-based criteria. Political influence. Older adults vote more, skewing political decisions. This results in policies that favor the elderly, often at the expense of the younger generation's economic prospects. Youth economic challenges. We're not only making life harder for the young economically, but also ignoring their mental and emotional well-being. Governments and institutions exploit human vulnerabilities, like the need for belonging and security to steer our actions towards their goals, whether it's increasing consumption, voting for specific parties, or creating social divides. Social media and mental health. Mark Zuckerberg's Facebook has caused more harm to young people than we could have imagined, profiting from their vulnerabilities. The impact is severe. Self-harm rates among 10 to 14-year-olds have risen since social media became widespread, especially among girls. Alarming trends. More teens are depressed, fewer young people are having relationships, and self-inflicted harm is increasing. When I was young, parents worried about kids getting into trouble. Now, I worry that my kids aren't getting into enough trouble to learn and grow. Health concerns. Teen obesity rates are rising, driven by the food industry's tactics. Overdose deaths are also climbing as despair grows. Decades ago, drunk driving was a major concern. Now, youth suicide rates are alarming. Changing family dynamics. Fewer young people want children, signaling a shift in societal values. Older adults in the U.S. are generally happy, but under 30s are struggling, which shouldn't be the case in a country with such resources. Global perspective. This isn't just a U.S. problem, it's happening globally. We need to invest in youth and their future, raising minimum wages and increasing funding for childcare. The true wealth of a nation lies in the well-being of its people, not its banks. Progressive tax system. We need a progressive tax system where the wealthy and corporations pay their fair share. The IRS needs more resources to ensure compliance, and Social Security should be reformed to be need-based, not just age-based. Negative income tax. Implementing a negative income tax could ensure a minimum income for all, similar to Andrew Yang's universal basic income proposal. We should also eliminate the capital gains tax deduction and hold internet platforms accountable for their content. Tech monopolies in education. Limiting tech monopolies, raising the minimum age for social media to 16, making preschool accessible, reinstating the child tax credit, and imposing term limits for politicians are essential steps. Affirmative action should focus on helping the poor, regardless of race or gender. Expanding vocational training. We need more vocational training programs, investments in mental health, and banning phones in schools. Supporting organizations like Big Brothers Big Sisters can help mentor the youth. Conclusion. If we truly care about our children's future, we need to be willing to make these changes. We have the resources. We just need the will. So what do you think? Are we ready to prioritize our children's future? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Econo Watch, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on the latest economic insights. Visit our community tab for more discussions and updates. Thanks for watching Econo Watch, where we keep an eye on the economy for you.